Weekend Breakfast with Penny Smith on Talk Radio.
We're ending the show with an award-winning short film called Innocence. So, worker has fallen to his death at a care home. Appears to be a terrible accident. But then a detective questions a young man with Down syndrome who was spotted at the scene, and they uncover a crime more shocking than anyone had imagined. Now, we're going to talk to the director now, who is Ben Reid. Ben, good morning to you.
Good morning, Penny. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much.
Doing okay in these times, yeah?
Yeah, we are. I mean, you know, as I said to the previous guest, Laurence Ellington, I just want to go and hug my mum and go and see people properly rather than constantly on Zoom house party and FaceTime and just chat. It's one of those things. But you know,
yes, I very much know that feeling.
Yeah. Now, your younger brother, Tom, has Down syndrome, and you love cinema, and that's one of the things that you love doing together. And so that is partly why this film came about.
That's true, yes. Me and my brother, you know, we love cinema, as you just said. We love crime films. And as we watched films growing up, my brother angered him. And they angered him because he thought they were very one-dimensional and they portrayed people with Down syndrome in a very simplistic light. And often the characters that we saw were trundled out for more PC kudos and not given the fair representation that people with Down syndrome deserve, which is to show their abilities and to show that they are kind of three-dimensional characters rather than tokenistic people.
And in terms of creating those characters, do you think there's, I guess, how do you tell the stories in a way that is right for their experience without becoming too one-dimensional, if you know what I mean?
Well, I think, if you don't mind me saying, that question is kind of part of the problem in the sense that we don't necessarily have to change a role to make it suitable for someone with Down syndrome. People with Down syndrome do have the ability to take on roles which aren't being offered them. But they also have a certain skill set which people who don't have Down syndrome have, in the sense that their eyes and their face and their body language convey a certain emotion which maybe you won't see with other actors who don't have Down syndrome. But there's also taken into account that people with Down syndrome don't necessarily work as quickly as other actors, and that needs to be taken into account in the scheduling and the way the process of the filmmaking takes place. But I very much think that there's lots of opportunities for actors with Down syndrome to play roles which aren't being afforded them at the moment, as an exception to kind of taking on a role which does very much focus on Down syndrome being part of the subject matter.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to hear a clip from it right now.
Okay,
Someone died yesterday when your brother was on duty.
I don't know what happened.
Hand away from your mouth and take your medication.
I told you to leave her alone.
I can't keep making excuses for you.
You should stop doing what Mike tells you.
He probably sees you as a burden. His little brother with Downs might be sick of taking care of you.
But he's my brother.
And that was the voice of Tommy Jessop, who is a Down syndrome actor, and excellent use of music too.
Well, thank you very much, Penny.
And this isn't a... Well, do you know what? It's funny, isn't it? Because sometimes I get really annoyed with music because I watch things and I think, oh, just back off a bit. I know I'm supposed to be feeling this at this moment, but this is very good because it just kind of underpins it, underlines it, rather than actually kind of overpowering it. Tell me how you managed to get it made in the first place, because it's always quite difficult getting a film off the ground.
Yes, no, very much so. I mean, it took 2 years of me searching for funding before I met Tibo Travers, whose production company Sweetdoh is behind the film. And Tibo, like me, saw the power of the story and felt very strongly that the story needed to be made. And then once Tibo came on board, we then got in touch with the Portsmouth Down Syndrome Association and Ken Ross, who's a film producer himself and has made the film My Feral Heart in the past. And between the three of us, we put the film together, and then we're able to get the budget to lure a name of Alice Lowe and other big actors to star alongside Tommy to really help increase the profile for the film.
Now, the film has been really well received so far, and congratulations on the awards. I think the Don Quixote Award at the Krakow Film Festival, and big congratulations. And what happens next in terms of making it more available for people to be able to see and in platforms and online or via cinema?
Well, I would say if anybody out there is listening to this now and they are interested in seeing the film or thinking the film could be suitable for their platform, then please do get in touch. Our website is innocencetofilm.com. That's innocencetofilm.com. But we are also at the moment in a process of moving towards the Oscars. That's our big long-term goal. So we've got into a number of Oscar qualifying festivals, and we're now continuing that journey and taking the film towards the Oscars with more attempts at entering more festivals and winning more awards and getting the profile bigger and getting the message out there.
Yeah. And now when you say Innocence to Film, that is T-O and not the number 2, I'm assuming.
Sorry, it's the film, so Innocence the film. So
Innocence the film. Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah,
because
somebody
else
had already grabbed, innocence.com, so we had to expand it out a wee bit further.
Yeah, it's so difficult now to get these domains.
The domains.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned the Oscars. I mean, how has it been for you during lockdown? Because obviously this is such a peculiar year.
Yes, no, very much. I mean, I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, and my partner works for the NHS full time. So it's been a complicated last few months, but working within the constraints of family life, I have been working on the feature film, which we're going into production with. We're in pre-production at the moment, which is based on the same themes as the short, and we're looking to expand that, and we're making it into a bigger, richer film, exploring the journey of the character with Down syndrome and his relationship with his brother. And this time it's based around a crime thriller which takes place in London and South America.
And is the feature film coming from a place where you had loads of material on the cutting room floor or in mind already, or has it come the other way where this has been so well received that you want to build on the story with new ideas?
Well, building on the story with new ideas. I mean, we definitely think that we kind of have touched on something which has really got the conversation starting. I mean, the film, I think it is worth saying, has been controversial in part because it does show people with Down syndrome in a way which has never been afforded them before. But we think that element of controversy is because it is so fresh and so original and so groundbreaking. And we want the next film to play on the build-up that's been created by the short, but also just show to people that there is more than one way to represent somebody with Down syndrome in an adult way, and it doesn't have to base purely around the kind of murder mystery element which we have in the short film.
And have you managed to get all the actors on board again? Because you mentioned Alice Lowe, who inside Number 9, Black Mirror. You've got Laurence Spellman, Ready Player One, Richard Glover, who did Rogue One, Bethany Asher, Wild Bill, and Faraz Ayoub. As I say, I was about to say The Bodyguard, but also Ingiri Haji, and so many other things as well. I mean, what a brilliant group of people.
Yes, no, we were really, really fortunate with the casting, and Shakira Dowling, our casting director, did a fantastic job getting the team together, and we are very interested in reuniting the actors that we featured in the short film, and also we've got a couple of other big A-list actors in mind for the feature as well.
Fantastic. And in terms of, I guess, in the current climate, developing any new features becomes very difficult from a pragmatic, a travel point of view, a social distancing. How is that affecting you from a timeline and from even just an organisational point of view?
Well, I think for anybody making a feature film, they know the journey can take a long time and you have to be prepared for that. I mean, I'm fortunate that I have a career that's successful in television and in drama and in documentaries where I have opportunities afforded to me to help pay the mortgage and keep the bank balance ticking over in the meantime. But we are looking at a co-production. I mean, that's the thing which I think is a good platform for us, if you don't mind me saying, is we are looking for other investors and other production companies to come on board and join the journey, because we know there's a budget that this film can be made for, which is not substantial, but we also know that with the correct backing, the correct funding and correct support, we can really push this and make this big and get the big stars on screen with Tommy Jessop. And
rip-roaring. You mentioned it's based in London and South America. Obviously, the problem is that South America at the moment is suffering a lot from COVID-19. So would this be filmed? Is this something that you see being filmed? Hopefully once we've got a vaccine, once we've got things a little more under control, or is this something that you could, I don't know, film elsewhere?
No, very much it will be like in a post-COVID world, whatever shape that may take, time will tell. But myself and the producer, we both filmed 3 times together in South America and Ecuador. So we know the producers on the ground. We're looking at working with a production company who worked on the Oscar-nominated Maria Full of Grace, and they can give us access to key locations. We're going to be filming in an international airport in Quito. We're going to film in the local markets and in really bringing to life the South American flavour, and that's going to play a key role in the film. So we're definitely looking to pursue doing everything for real. I come from a documentary background, doing documentaries for Netflix, and I know the importance of making the realism of the locations really kind of come out and play to our benefit. So we won't be trying to sidestep anything by looking to new studios or anything like that.
Now, Ben, you mentioned obviously the trail or the path towards the Oscars, and it's sort of a path beaten by going to kind of qualifying festivals. For those that may have perhaps naively assumed that the Oscars is just everything goes out there and everyone has a vote, what's that kind of campaign like? I mean, what's the path from making a film like this to getting there and on the red carpet?
Well, you do have to win or get accepted by big festivals that receive thousands and thousands and thousands of short films. For Krakow, we were whittled down to 13 films from, I think, 4,000 applicants to begin with. So it's important to kind of win an award in a big festival and get represented in big festivals. But then it's also a case, I think, to actually have a campaign in mind when you get to the Oscars. And we're very fortunate that the PR company who worked behind The Silent Child, which won the Oscar 2 years ago, is supporting us on this journey. I don't know if you remember The Silent Child, but it was about a lead actress who was deaf, and the film was used as a platform for the filmmakers to discuss the subject of deaf people and their role in society and the way they're represented on screen. And I think the PR company working with us see the same potential with our film to talk about the representation of people with Down syndrome and the need for more diverse and nuanced approach to looking at Down syndrome on screen. I mean, I think the last few weeks, what's happened in the world really does show the importance of representation, and representation being done in a way which shows people at their best and not their worst, and to show that what people are capable of and not to pigeonhole and not to stereotype.
Yeah. Well, it's about inclusivity, surely, isn't it? It's about how we look at things, and if you need to see yourself reflected in a positive light. Oh, that's it.
Yes, and I think it's kind of like who decides how you're represented as well, because I don't want to give away the ending to Innocence, but it's a very dark film in many ways, and it does feature a very morally ambiguous crime. Now, when I showed the film at a BAFTA screening to have the grand premiere, I was in the crowd, it was dark, nobody knew I was the filmmaker, and a woman next to me when the film finished, she muttered under her breath, "That's disgusting." Now, a girl with Down syndrome sitting next to me on the other side, she turned to her friend who also had Down syndrome and said, "That's the best character I've ever seen." And I think the lady sitting next to me, the reason she thought it was disgusting, because she thought it was shocking and disturbing that somebody with Down syndrome should be allowed to be portrayed on screen playing a character, and remember it's a character, they're acting, that is capable of something which is violent. And I think that's something which we should be allowed to embrace and accept. And
well, exactly. You're allowed to be not entirely one thing or another, just like most humans are. We're not exactly. As we found recently. Thank you so much, Ben, for chatting to us today. That's Ben Reid, the director of Innocence, and INNOCENCE, the film.com is where you go to see that.